Hi, how's everybody doing? Welcome to a new episode of Factorio. We're going to be doing a new campaign of modded Factorio. And in this, we are using... Let's see what's going to be the easiest way to show it. That is not this one. Here it is. So we're using Evo GUI Faro. What's it really used for? Bombs, angels... Let's see what else are we using in here. Space. There's some space stuff, yarn. There's a lot loader, disco science. So if you do want to go ahead and pause the video at any point to go ahead and look at these, you can. They will also be down in the descriptions if you want to play along. This was just a test world I was doing, but it's the same exact mods that are here. So let's get back to that, and let's go. So let's go ahead and grab our ammo out of our spaceship. Make sure we turn on Alt so we can get the alternative view, so we can go ahead and see, just be able to see what's kind of going on. Because Alt does show us the alternative, go figure, view for things. Mainly it just will let us see, for instance, what's in these chests. Although they're not really chests, they're just bits and bobs, right? Speaking of bits and bobs, okay, so it looks like all of our ore is up top, which isn't actually going to be bad. That actually should be fine. So let's head up there. So let's go ahead and grab, so we do start with a burner ore crusher. We do have I'm not going to say a texture pack turned on, but a reskin of some of the things from Bob's. So it reskins pretty much the circuits back into the vanilla looking. So we have green circuits and red circuits, mainly just to help players who are used to, say, things like good vanilla, for instance. Doesn't matter where we put this. And we do have to select a recipe for these things. That's fine. Actually, we can stack that there and go ahead and place our furnace here. What that will allow us to do is actually tile it around, and you'll kind of see that once we get some more things up. So for now, let's actually go ahead and chop some wood. We aren't playing on a death world. Sometimes they do, but just for the sake of performance, we're not going to do a death world this run. Biters are turned on, but they shouldn't bother us too much. Okay, so let's go ahead. Nice. We do have even distribution, so we could actually, I'm not going to take it out, but we could split it more evenly. So something to take note with angels is, so the way ore spawns is it spawns in these different patches, kind of like in vanilla, but unlike in vanilla where we can just mine it, throw it into a furnace and smelt it, we can't smelt this ore. We can't just throw it into a furnace and to get plate, but as you can see kind of on the right hand side, kind of over here, as you can see how it shows what we're going to get from it. So iron, copper, silicon, nickel, titanium, and tungsten. Now with that, we have to refine each, well, not each of them out. Once we get a little bit further, it'll kind of be more apparent of how we get each of the things. But for now, all we can do is we can crush it. So this is the first step, so we have to crush it. So we get the crushed ore, we can throw it in a furnace, and that will get us plate. Right? In this case, sapphirite gives us iron for smelting. It's not a good ratio. I believe it's a 3-to-2. So 3 crushed into 2 plate. And it does produce crushed stone, which we will have to occasionally deal with just because it will build up. And eventually, but our stack size is, I believe, 1,000. So it should mostly help with the build up being prevented, but it will cause some other issues later on with buffering and stuff, because the internal buffers of these machines will be so huge, and as we get belts and things, because we will do a main bus and kind of belts. So it's kind of looking at the map. It looks like our starting area is not too bad. I believe we're on default settings. I'll have to look. But for the most part, it looks like all of our stuff's condensed up here, which is fine, because we can do power here, right next to the coal patch, which should be up and out of the way, and then we'll do refining down here, and probably a main bus somewhere in here. Probably refining here, just under this, smelting here, and then we'll put some tags down just to kind of visualize that a little bit more as we go along, because the base will be pretty big. So we do have a few resources now, so let's go ahead and get some furnaces. We do have metallurgy installed, and it is enforced, which basically just means once we get iron ore itself out of this, we can't just smelt it in a furnace. We have to go through a process. So it is going to become kind of tedious in that, but that will be fine. The first couple episodes we'll probably be busy doing kind of menial tasks in the factory, at least until we can get steel, because steel is going to kind of be the first big hump to get over, because in order to get steel we need to smelt iron, which for those of you who have played vanilla is normal. It's a standard procedure. You smelt iron in order to get the steel. I do need to get another burner or miner, which means I need more iron. But in order to do that, we need and you actually kind of just went ahead and saw the even distribution when I did that. Let's throw some wood in there. But wood is used for things, so we do have to we don't want to burn all of it. Go there, and yeah, we don't want to make too many burner ore crushers, just because we will be getting the miners. On the other hand, we will build a bunch of, just because we will be using those. And that should be good. But yeah, so like I said, we want, so this is kind of that pattern I was talking about earlier of getting that done. But steel is the first big hump to get over because of the way it's processed, and we'll do burner inserters here once we get them, because we'll just be able to put fuel into the crusher, and then they'll fuel themselves and then fuel up, just due to the nature of how they work. But like I said, to get steel, it's 8 iron plate into 8 glowing hot iron into 1 steel, and we need a lot of steel in order to really progress, and that's kind of our first big hump in terms of difficulty, so we'll have to kind of scale that up. So the first probably couple episodes will be spent doing that. But once we get steel going, and we can get steel through metallurgy, but that's not until green science, and we can kind of automate it early. It's not really something we can automate well early on, at least not until we get loaders and things, which will, again, like I said, significantly help throughput of just small things. So for now, let's just go ahead and make sure that that's getting power. Copper is not as important as the iron, but it is still important to have. Just like in vanilla, where you spend a lot of your time focusing on iron, eventually there is a shift, and you can kind of see it and feel it in your factory, where you'll suddenly, well, I guess not suddenly, but you'll start to need more copper. And the reason I don't say suddenly is because traditionally you'll have a buffer of it built up inside of machines, or, well, your furnaces, and so you won't really notice that you're suddenly using a lot more copper, and so most players will end up neglecting their copper smelting area. And then they'll notice, hey, now I'm using a shit ton of copper, but that's pretty much the same way in this. And so pretty much everything's out of fuel, which is to be expected. So I'm actually going to go ahead and take 2 of these burner miners and put them on the coal and do a fun little thing that is a great way to kind of quasi-automate. Cool, so we just do that. We just put 1 burner miner feeding into another one, because they'll feed. Oh, well, we got to make sure that their fuel is not wood. We want to obviously make sure it's coal. So as they mine, this number will tick up. Yep, there it goes up to 3. And so then this will slowly increase until it hits a stack, which I believe is 1,000, which for some people they're going to probably say, oh, well, that's a lot, that's unnecessary, right? And it is, but it's modded, and because the way items work, you're going to have so many items in this. There's so many little subcomponents that, quite honestly, I don't want my inventory to fill up with 1 item or 2 items because they only stack to 10 or they only stack to 50. I want things to stack to big numbers, because modded is just a pain to deal with if you don't have that. So we'll make sure that there's at least 1 coal in this little system, so that way it doesn't run out. Let's go take our coal and go slap it in iron. We're actually going to take 2 of these and slap them on the iron. We do want to make sure, yeah, okay, so we can go ahead and get some burner inserters going. Like I said, we'll just throw fuel in there, and we can do like that. And then I don't have another one of those. Can I get another one? Yes, we can if we can get that. Now, surely the amount of iron we need, I want to make sure that we're able to get get automating going properly. Now, although the burner miners don't feed themselves with fuel, so we'll have to still fuel them, there is still quite a bit of trees over here, so we'll make sure that we're filling them. And we can put 2 burner miners, because again, like I said, they'll fuel themselves from this stack of fuel. So I like that about them, is they will pull fuel from this inventory as they need it, and fuel themselves and fuel the furnace. So really, the only thing we're going to have to ever fuel is the crusher and the drills. And the drills will eventually convert over to the electric version, and same thing with the crusher. And then eventually these will also be electric when we switch the crusher over to electric. So the process is pretty straightforward, and right now we just need a lot of iron, so that's what we're going to worry about. So let's go ahead and get 3 more furnaces. And we are going to need the burner inserters, so it's not even a bad thing that we're making them now. The burner miners, I don't believe, are used in any other recipes, so these are unfortunately a dump, or like a resource drain. So we're not going to really get our investment back from them, but we will get our resources, not back per se, but at least be able to reuse them from the burner miners. Not that they'll be used in other recipes, but they will be used themselves in our power area once I start getting that set up, so that way they can they'll pull fuel from the fuel line, fuel themselves, and then fuel the boilers. So it's kind of just a way to make sure that power can't turn off if the power itself, for whatever reason, fluctuates. So it's just so that way that power is always able to fuel itself without having power, if that kind of makes sense. So for instance, if a brownout or a blackout occurs so that our power isn't sufficient to power the whole factory because we failed to upgrade power but expanded the base a whole bunch, then it won't shut the boilers off, which will in turn just create a negative feedback loop of not being able to power basically, right? So that just needs fuel, so let's go ahead and grab some more fuel from our coal field over here, and we can add more. You can technically, I guess, scale this up as much as you want. Some people will do 2x2, so 4 total. I just do a 2x2, just because that's just what I feel is good and sufficient, and quite like I said, you can scale that up to as many as you want. If you want to cover the whole thing in burner miners, go for it. Just know that you're gonna spend a lot of fuel and also cause a lot of pollution, because these things create 200% pollution, which is not great. Although I believe biters are normal, so we will have to deal with them, but they're not death world level biters. So at the very least, we won't have to deal with that. So we will want to get more iron, like I said, but these machines should all be producing sufficient iron. Oh, but we do want to make sure we are emptying the crush stone, because like I said, that doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't get smelted. But it is something we have to deal with, right? Eventually we could process it and do other things with it. I believe we can actually extract ore from it by melting it with sulfuric acid and doing some fun things. Let's make sure that that's fueled. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that. Make sure, because I saw 2 in those. How do I do even distribution? There we go. Well, is it? I have not a clue. Like that? No. Oh well. My fingers remembered it yesterday when I was doing a test playthrough, but apparently they don't remember it today. I'm sure it will come back to me. It's one of those things that I couldn't explain how to do it, but my muscle memory knows how to do it. So I'm sure it will happen. I just won't realize it. So we don't have to click on the inventory. You can always control left click and it will empty out the outputs. So let's go ahead and also get that automated. Again, quasi-automated, because it's not great. And I'm okay with spending wood. Now, if I spawned in a desert, for instance, I probably wouldn't be spending the wood like that. But because I see that there's a shit ton of trees over there, I'm okay with spending the wood. Just because wood is used in tier 1 circuit boards. Well, I guess you could say tier 0, but tier 1 circuit board, your basic circuit boards require wood. A little weird, but it is part of Bob's. So, unlike in vanilla, where wood's essentially just useless and you'll either put it in a box and shoot the box, or burn it all into burners. Or some people will have a setup so that the robots will take it to a boiler and just burn it for energy, which is fine, but for us... Oh, they should be fueling. Why aren't you fueling? See, because they're fueling themselves from the crusher, they should... Okay, I guess they don't fuel themselves. I lied. I know, chat. Well, I say chat. I'm used to saying it on Twitch. Also, if you guys haven't checked out Twitch, we are streaming over on Twitch. Go to twitch.tv/ravagedplays. Check us out there. We stream Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We do sometimes do streams on Wednesday and Sundays. But those Wednesday and Sunday streams are not on the schedule, but they sometimes happen. So always make sure you're following over there with notifications turned on, so that way you guys can go and never miss out on any of the live streams we do. We play games such as Factorio, Hell Let Loose, World Warships, and a couple other different titles that come across. But for the most part, we do either Hell Let Loose or Factorio over there. So we're going to make sure we keep grabbing this. Oh, and if you guys haven't already here, make sure you smash that subscribe button. Give a big thumbs up and leave a comment. Questions, comments, and any other ideas you might have. Alright. So let's go ahead. I think we have everything we need. So let's get another boiler. Let's go ahead and get... So I do have a pipe mod installed, so I have to make sure that I'm not grabbing the wrong pipe. These pipes won't connect. They'll connect to each other in a straight line, but they won't connect to each other like adjacently. And I'll kind of show you that later. These pipes, which are the vanilla ones, do connect to each other, so... But it's because of the way... Angels... Not Angels. It's the way... Yeah, Angels PetroChem. That's the mod I was thinking of. My brain had it correctly. So to set power down, I'm thinking what we'll do is we'll set it here. It's not ideal. That's fine. So let's go ahead and make... an underground, just so that way I can space it away from the shoreline for now. So I believe it's one pump can support 20 boilers, and each boiler is able to support... So boiler, and then I do want to get some pipe. So the reason for the pipe is so I want to do that, and then I want to do that, and then that. And so the reason I space it out like that is so that way when I make power poles, I'll make a couple here, and I'm going to need some boxes. I'll need some of that and a bunch of that, and then we'll go ahead and grab. Is so that way I can put power poles in between. And so it just makes it really nice to tile in Blueprint. Now this will eventually intersect with the coal field, but that's fine. By the time it's intersecting, hopefully, yeah, it's a pretty small coal field. Most of these are, because I'm pretty sure we're playing on generic settings. So let's go ahead. Power's fine, then it's up. We just need to go grab some iron so we can get an electric miner for over there. We don't have very much bobmonium, which is that the brown ore. So we will have to get more of that. So let's try to figure this out. So there. There. Everything looks good. And let's clear out the stone. Alright. So let's go ahead and get some electric mining drills. And just, we do have science queue turned on. So let's go ahead and just kind of queue up what we're going to need. So automation first, followed by basic logistics, followed by chemical processing, followed by metallurgy. Oh, actually, you know what? No. I want mechanical refining, followed by metallurgy, followed by chemical processing, which doesn't give us anything. It just unlocks more research and then unlocks steel. And then we'll kind of change things from there, depending on how things go. But once we get steel, then we'll actually, I guess, research iron next. Because, yeah, so we have to research all these, and some of them, like this one, for instance, the iron one, requires 30 seconds per pack, and it requires 100 packs. So that's going to require 50 minutes or an hour to research with just one lab. So we will, of course, have a bit more labs. We will have to do a little bit of an automated science setup. Otherwise, that science will take forever. Well, not forever, but it will take several episodes to get to that. And I'd prefer not to take that long to get to. So luckily for us, the coal patch is not very far away. I have had worlds where the coal and power are nowhere near each other. And then that's mainly just because the way the coal spawns. Sometimes I'll usually try to get a world where the coal's, or put power near the coal, but sometimes it's just not possible. Luckily for us, in this case, it is. So let's go ahead and make sure that we are amply getting... and we'll do something like that. Alright. So we'll get us some coal. It's definitely overkill for what we have right now, but it's better to go overkill now. Plus, well, the main reason I want to go overkill right here is just so that way it mines the coal before we get the steam engines down, because this will probably only fit about 8 boilers before we get down here, but that will still be plenty of power. So for now, let's go ahead and grab some more coal, and let's go get our copper automated. Again, quasi-automated. Because right now iron's making a lot. We don't really need as much, like I said, we don't need as much copper as we need iron right now, because iron's pretty much building all of our infrastructure. Iron's building pretty much everything. The base, the inserters, the belts. Like, yes, some things have copper in them. For instance, anything with a circuit, but we need such little amount of copper right now that it's fine. And the reason I'm not going to build a bunch of burner inserters and basically copy this blueprint over here is just because we are going to be getting electric mining drills. That's going to kind of change this layout a little bit. Plus, once we get a couple other things. Yeah, so now we just got the electric miners. So we'll do something like that, and that should be enough. So now all of our furnaces will be on this side. So let's go ahead and get 2 more. We don't want to make too many furnaces because they are something that, although not costly, we are not going to be able to afford. And we gotta make sure we mine that so it doesn't place. We're not gonna be able to afford using all that stone on that, because stone is gonna be used for some other things. For now, it's just gonna be a sink, or for a while we're gonna end up storing it because we're not gonna have anything to do with the crushed stone. It's mainly just gonna sit in a warehouse, which are just very large chests that, of course, we will show. And we'll go like that because I don't want to use all the miners. Weird how those ran out of fuel. Yeah, so fuel will back up, which will, of course, be a good thing, and we'll pull some off. But crushed stone, we'll just take out of there. It will build up. Like I said, we'll be fine. But crushed stone will gets converted into stone. Stone makes the stone furnaces, but stone furnaces we can't really use anywhere else, just because like I said, we can't smelt the iron or copper ore at really any of the ores in a furnace, as we are forced to use metallurgy. So it doesn't add a layer of difficulty, along with it slows down a little bit of the early game. But for now, I think that should be fine. So really, right now we're just waiting for things to smelt. We'll probably double this. To cut to this version, because I believe, yeah. So we do have Bottleneck, and it does show us what some of those bottlenecks are. We could actually probably add, you know what? I'm gonna see if I can squeeze in. Just something like that. Then we're not using all the power, which is good. So we'll do something like that. Now, of course, we could do something like that. So, of course, it is going to collect all the crushed stone first, but let's grab that out ourselves. But the chest is where that will collect, and then any extra crushed will go into here. Well, crushed ore will go into there. It's not a perfect tile or tiling blueprint thing or really anything, but it's fine. We could even, I guess, do something like this. Just squeeze. So we could do like that, and like that. And then, yeah, let's actually do that instead. Not that I don't want the chest, like it's fine to be storing it, but just to make it a little bit more efficient, I guess. So we'll do something like that, and that, and throw that. Alright. So now that should work out better, yeah. Then just check power. Yeah, plenty of power for everything, so we should be fine. So what do we need? So let's get some labs going. Because the labs are going to be not have any fuel, we're not going to use burner inserters. It's not a good place to use them. Burner inserters are good to use anywhere that there's fuel already in that area, or in that system, I guess. For instance, there's fuel in this system, so it makes sense to use them here. And I don't really want to be burning all my wood, 'cause, like I said, it is used in the circuits, and I don't want to use them in just smelting. So let's go ahead and head over here. We could have this going into a chest, but for now, I'm going to just go ahead and eat it off the belt, like so, and just let that fill back up. Yeah, 320 just off of that, which is fine. And we still have these little guys running, which I do want to make sure there's at least one fuel in that system so it doesn't shut down for whatever reason. Yeah, so let's... Yeah, so it's right-click, this, 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 and this. That leaves us with a little bit as well. And so let's go ahead and do that here, 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 and here. Cool. I wish it would read how much is already in it, and it would evenly put enough fuel to even them out. Right, so it would take into account what's already in the machine instead of... Yeah. So we are going to have to do a little bit of handcrafting, so... Yeah, for now let's just craft as many science packs as we can. We're going to need them, so right, so there's not really much point in not making them. And I guess we'll put them here. Let's say they start there. Just that way. I'll go ahead and put inserters. The inserters won't really matter right now. Eventually they will, because our little ghetto automation system will probably set up here, and then we'll belt up the iron and the copper, and then automate red science. Well, I say automate, but bootstrap automate, right? So let's go ahead and throw this crushed stone just so we keep our inventory a little bit tidy. I'll just throw it in there. And let's chop some trees just so that we can kind of clear this area up. Eventually we will get nanobots, which are basically early game robots. Now they're not Roboport. So to kind of make sure that people don't feel as though it's, oh, you know, kind of a little bit cheaty cheat. They are early game robots, but they're not overpowered like robots. So you get construction robots and you get termites, basically. I mainly use them for the termite feature just because eventually we will get to a point where trees are just a pain in the ass and I don't want to have to chop them down, and it's cheaper and faster to just use the termites than it is to use the construction bots. And there are some limits to the construction nanobots as to why I don't use them. Eventually we will use them more as the factory grows bigger, as it will speed up in conjunction with actual robots, but I just feel as though the termite bots are just more useful for clearing trees. And that's really what I use them for. Some people will use them for more, you know, I don't want to say cheaty purposes, but we'll use nanobots for, we'll kind of lean on them a lot more and crutch on them a lot more for building things. And I mean, yes, I'll use them for blueprints, but I try not to use them to the point where it's like, okay, I'm not really even playing the early game. The robots are. So let's want to keep our science getting fed. Automation's moving nice and fast. I like that research bar. Bom, bom, bom. Alright, and that's getting done. So let's see, the next thing I want to queue is, we'll queue that. We do have science queue. Normally in vanilla, so this isn't a modded thing, just so you know, although there is mods you can get to, like auto research and expand the research queue itself. This is just a vanilla feature that you can turn on in the settings. By default, it's set to once you launch the rocket, this feature will unlock, and you can also set it to never, which I don't really know why you would, but you can turn it on, and I believe it does not affect achievements in vanilla, so it's kind of one of those helpful tips. I really like it. It makes just not having to worry about science kind of in the early game when I'm just getting it automated and focusing on kind of just getting these little things bootstrapped. But at the same time, in the early game, you're kind of standing around a lot, not really doing a whole lot. You're just kind of waiting for things to happen, per se. So that's really what we're doing. So let's go ahead and get 3 miners made. Let's go ahead and get another boiler, and if we can, yeah, we'll save and go for that. And so what we can do is we can just dump all our science packs here, and we are slowly crafting them, which is fine. And then, like I said, we'll get this kind of quasi-automated, and then moving the resources up and over. So let's go ahead and do that and that. So let's go ahead and grab that and that. So that's moving in. And again, I would just like to double check power, just to always make sure that we're never running low. And although I do mostly know how much we're producing, I mean, I did just look at it, but I know that this little setup we have is 1.8, and with what we have, we're well within that limit, especially when the mining drills aren't all working, so we're fine. But it definitely doesn't ever hurt to always just constantly be checking and monitoring. And as you notice, the inserters are not consuming any power because that is a mod we have turned on, that they are drainless, because quite honestly, right now it doesn't seem like much, but eventually once you have several thousand inserters, it could be quite a lot of power that, quite honestly, just one, I believe it will save us on UPS a little bit, but it's just a thing that I don't like having to deal with constantly, having to make sure that inserters are draining such a large portion of the factory that I have to kind of stop and expand power just because of the inserter cost. And we'll definitely see that more in Angels and Bobs in this factory, because this factory will be quite large. I would say, I'm not going to quite say comparable to a Mega Base in vanilla, because Mega Bases in vanilla, quite honestly, are massive to the point where it takes several minutes to cross. But, well, with that, I will see you guys in the next one.